Okay, we're back, Matthew.
Welcome to episode 20.
20. We have breached.
It's a new milestone, I guess.
I guess so.
And it's also on. It's going to. Today is September 20th. Is that a coincidence?
Oh my gosh. Well, when this airs, it will be the 20th. You're right.
When people are watching this.
Okay.
20 for 20.
We have an exciting addition to the show.
Yeah, we could get to that.
We have got Paul. If you've watched the podcast, we have the perpetual employee of the month, Paul Hudson, sat in for you, Matthew,
when I was away.
And he works while we work at this and when we're doing the podcast, but we have got a camera for Paul right there. That is the Paul Hudson cam. Paul, can you say hi so that we...
Hello.
Yeah, it's like he sounds like he's on the moon there.
We need the slow motion, maybe something's floating by.
The microphone is the Leesona 102 he is using there is working right now, but the noise cancellation on that iPhone's on those earbuds are pretty good, so you don't hear that. Say hi again, Paul, so we know you're not animatronic.
Hello, everybody.
See, we programmed him well. Okay, we will come back to Paul periodically and see what he's up to.
See what he's working on.
We'll get on with the show here. Paul, chime in if you feel you must. If you have something to add to the Throwback Guitar Lounge podcast, because your microphone, although we don't see you, you're going to hear the whole show. And say something, Paul, so we can just confirm that.
I'm not on mute, and you can hear me, correct?
Yes, that's right. Okay, good. All right. Well, we'll get on with the show here. We've got.
We'll have to keep. Maybe Paul should keep the off-color jokes down to a minimum.
Yeah, he'll make sure to do that. So the guitar argument today is going to be: are you playing too hard? Are you picking too hard, choking your tone?
You think you came up with the idea?
Well, now I will give the great Phil McKnight his due for this.
Okay.
Because I say the great Phil McKnight because he is king among YouTube guitar nerds. I think he would feel good about me saying that. I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I am a fully fledged guitar nerd. Matthew, are you?
Well, in this last episode, he gave us a little shout out.
He did.
So I have to say
thank you, Phil.
Yeah, thanks.
But so he was talking about our video that we did about intonation, and he explained that when he's talking about intonation with a customer, he wants to see them play the guitar because very often, if they're, using too much force when they're fretting, that's going to throw the intonation off. So we thought, well, is this something to talk about in a Throwback Guitar Lounge podcast? In the guitar argument, and we have determined yes, and it's going to be we're putting it in we've thought about this, and we think it's actually an important detail that a lot of beginner guitar players and even more, I think intermediate guitar players maybe aren't aware of. So we're going to call it the number one mistake that's killing your guitar tone: playing too hard. Is that true or false? We're going to argue about that in the guitar argument. Matthew, which side are you taking?
I'm taking the con.
Which would be that you think it's just fine to play aggressively. Okay.
It's necessary.
So it's necessary to the whole deal. Oh, I went to the throwback mailbox, but we'll go to that now. So the throwback mailbox, I could not find the images to back these two emails up, but I did get a couple of emails this last week. One of them was a person wanting to know if he had a set of PAF pickups, and he sent me an email of photographs of a set of humbuckers, and they were in fact Gibson pickups, but they had embossed stamped on the back of them the number or a series of numbers, and that would never be the case with PAF. So the mailbox response to that one was, No, that is a much later product, perhaps in an 80s era Gibson humbucker. So anybody out there that thinks they might have a vintage PAF pickup, if it has a base plate that has numbers stamped into it, it's definitely not. The other email I got was someone wanting to know if they had a throwback pickup. It did not say throwback. And so, again, number one rule with if you have a throwback pickup, it must have a throwback sticker on it because we put that on all of them. So the long and short of it is this was not a throwback pickup. But in addition to that, it was a humbucking pickup that had a vulcanized fiberboard base plate rather than a stamped nickel silver base plate. We have never made a humbucker, PAF style pickup or a humbucker of any sort that has a vulcanized fiberboard base plate. If it were a throwback pickup that somehow might have had the sticker removed from it, which is hopefully unlikely, it would definitely have a nickel silver base plate if it's a humbucker. So if that's useful to anybody out there, those are two items we received in throwback mailboxes last week. And that's that. Do you have anything to add to that, Matthew?
Well,
Have I missed something? Have I left something
unfortunately, we didn't have the pictures.
I didn't have the picture.
The pictures would have been good.
I went looking for it.
We looked. You showed me the one with the vulcanized fiberboard.
Yeah. Well,
but we just, I mean, that's a material that you'll see on a Fender type pickup.
Yes, vulcanized fiberboard is the correct material for a Fender Stratocaster or Telecaster pickup bobbin, but not for a PAF humbucker. Sometimes people will make something humbucker that they might call PAF, and they make a vulcanized fiberboard base plate to try to fit it into a route that's not really made for it. We don't have that variation. That we don't offer anything like that with vulcanized fiberboard base plate.
There was one comment that I read off of episode 19 that was on the board in the comment section last week that said it was a compliment, and it said you guys are the biggest guitar nerds in the world.
You up there, Paul. I muted you for a minute, but let's see, Paul. Do you think we are among the? Do you agree that we're among the biggest guitar nerds on YouTube?
Yeah, I do. I fully agree with you there.
Yeah, he sees it daily.
We fully embrace it, though.
Yeah. So okay,
we found our niche.
Okay, so Paul's hard at work over there. Paul, we can hear him making sort of a.
What's that going on?
Scuffling around there. Let's see what are you doing, Paul? Paul, are you working or not? Oh, the machine is.
You're probably hearing the machine.
Look, the machine is spinning there.
Oh, no, what are you making right now, Paul?
I am making 101 screw bobbins.
Screw bobbins. You're a little muffled there. Okay, and again, for the viewing public, this is one of the very few operational Leasona 102s left on the planet as far as we're aware. Mm-hmm. And we have two of these machines that we use daily. Or, well, I guess we should say Paul uses these daily, right? As you can see right there. Paul does all of the operation of the Leasona 102 at this point. And although trained by me, right, Paul?
Yes, I've learned everything I know from you.
Okay. Okay. And anyway, it's true. It's true. Yeah, but he's since learned stuff probably that he would have to tell me. So, okay, well, let's let him get back to work. But I'll finish. That machine, though, we use for the SLE 101, 101 Plus, DT 102, PG 102, and EDA Custom and the ER Custom. And we have another Leesona 102 that we will show in a future podcast, I'm sure, that we use for anything that ends in a 102B, because we call that the Leesona 102B machine. So, okay, Paul, we're going to go away. Well, you'll still be there, though. Okay. Is there more to add to that, Matthew, with the throwback mailbox?
No, I think that we covered
Should
it.
Should we go on to the player grade vintage segment? This is again a segment I started a few episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
And again, my strategies, and I will relate my strategies and purchases that will hopefully inform the Throwback Guitar Lounge podcast listening and viewing public. So if you want to get a vintage guitar at a reasonable price, maybe how I've managed to do this will be of help. So I'm going to, I don't think I've shown this guitar before, Matthew. We talked about that, but this is a, well, should I just show it?
I think you should show it.
I should just show it.
Give us a drum roll.
Okay, let me get the drum roll going here.
And now, direct from Hollywood.
Okay.
Ta-ta.
Okay, so this is, let me get to the guitar shot here. Okay. We've determined that people just want to see the guitar. They don't really want to see me. Or you, for that matter, Matthew. Well, maybe they want to see you, but not me. So, this guitar, in case you didn't know, this is an ES-135, a 1967 ES-135. I purchased this locally from a music store that had it, and it had no pickups in it. So this is, again, one of the strategies for getting a vintage guitar.
Now, can I interrupt one second?
Sure.
You called it a 135.
Did I say 135?
Yeah, you
I'm
did.
sorry.
You threw me, so I was looking at it.
ES-335.
Okay, then we're okay.
Start over with that. ES-335. So the local guitar shop had this, Rainbow Music, when they were around here in town. And I think I just randomly asked if they had anything cool. And they produced this, and it didn't have the pickups, which wasn't a problem for me. And it also has another feature that drags the value of these down. Not only not having the original pickup, it had the stop tail bar tailpiece put on it. This would have been a trapeze tailpiece guitar originally, and since this is added, it brings down the value of the guitar. Mm-hmm. Because it's no longer stock. Plus, it was added kind of a little further away than would be standard if it was to have come stock with the stop tailpiece. And, the interesting part of that, though, is this is how Larry Carlton's is. It has the same distance. And I saw an interview with him that said he actually had a place there because it was the correct spot for it, for the style of guitar. And I would assume that's because that's where the trapeze was. Kind of the trapeze terminates before he switched to a stop tail, and he did not want to change any component as far as any the harmonics that are produced behind the bridge. So the guitar sounds very good, even with this location. But again, it's one of these things that might drag the value down a little bit. Not only is it modified, it's modified in the a la Larry Carlton stop tail location. Another detail with this is it's got an ABR1 bridge on it, but someone had put steel anchor posts, kind of like a Nashville bridge, in it. So that's another thing that takes away from the originality of it. So altogether, had the pots and the capacitors correct for it, and the switch, pickguard. Oh, and the neck had been kind of poorly. You're not going to see it, but the neck had been sort of poorly sanded and refinished. So I actually fixed that with a can of Deft spray paint. This is sort of very early on in my
Guitar repair.
player grade vintage Quest. But the upshot of it is, among the 335s I have, this is my favorite one. And I got it for way less. Well, I think this is when I established I will not spend more than $2,000 on a ES335. And this fit right in with that. So, Ed, do you have any questions about it, Matthew?
I think people want to hear that.
That's okay. Let's hear it. Let's see the player grade vintage ES335. Matthew, you get your bass, and we'll be right back. Okay. All right, we're back, and we'll. I guess I should talk about the pickups in the guitar, Matthew. The pickups are throwback pickups. No big surprise there. These are the ER custom pickups. The specs for these are 8.3K bridge, 7.9K neck. They both have short Alnico 5 magnets. So these are a late PAF spec pickup before that are short magnet, but before the resistance drops down to kind of the 7.5K range. And the short Alnico 5, when people ask about our magnets, the short Alnico 5 is a fairly powerful magnet. Mm-hmm. And it will give a higher perceived output from the pickup than if you used like an Alnico 2 or an Alnico 4 in the same pickup. So these sound very punchy. This is a clean tone from it. And here's the neck. Okay. And dirty, I think you really hear it quite a bit more. So I use this, like, I often bring these to our blues gigs, this guitar, and it works really well for that kind of sort of punchy edge of breakup bluesy tone. Okay, so let's play something. Should we do the standard? Okay.
That's an E?
I guess you're right. Well, no. No, that's A. Okay.
It's A, right.
Again, you did the wrong ones. Okay. Let's.
Now, what do you think you would pay for something like that today?
I think it's
In that
with no
condition,
pickups.
with no pickups, and
Oh, I think it's probably going to be close to five. I think it's going to be over $5,000, maybe.
really,
Yeah, I haven't seen them. I haven't seen them for a bit without the pickups. I think people clued into that.
so these guitars have been stripped because they had PAF.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
that period,
patent sticker pickups.
patent sticker.
Yeah, the pickups at some point became. Well, people would strip them because they might have put super distortion or some sort of oddity thing in there,
Right.
Long ago, and then they end up in a parts drawer, and they never see them again at some point, or people buy them knowing that it has the narrow nut. Oh yeah, that's right. The other detail, it's a 67, so it's got a narrow nut. Drops the value right there in terms of what makes it desirable, although I mean, I've seen videos with Nashville session musicians that have these. They're not bothered. It's an individual thing for the player. Mm-hmm. Some might not like it. Some might have no problem with it. But in general, it's going to lower the value. So I think there was a window in there where people that kind of parted out guitars.
Yeah.
They would be like, well, the guitar with the pickups, with the original pickups, may be worth more, but if I take the original pickups out, sell those on Reverb or eBay, put something else in the guitar that's much less expensive, sell the guitar separately, combined, they've made a little more money. I think that happened quite a bit. Because all in all, I've got 4 of these that were all that story. Where they either had no pickups or they had they had non-original pickups. So I haven't seen that quite so much anymore, but you could probably still find them that way. I've seen them on guitar. I think maybe with the pickups, they're going to be in the $7,000 range. If you had the original pickups, you do see them on Guitar Center every now and then, but. Yeah, again, part of player grade vintage, getting a player grade vintage guitar is getting one that will hold its value and go up in value over time. And this worked out with these too. Okay, let's put these away, Matthew, and we will be right back. Okay, Matthew, we're back. Should we check in with Paul here?
Yeah, let's see what's going on.
Paul, we're checking back in with you. You're still there?
I'm still here.
Yeah, I didn't mute
Still
you during
I
didn't mute you during our jam, and it sounded like you were starting to say something. Were you?
No, I wasn't.
No. Okay. All right.
No insights for us?
No. Is there anything you want to add to the show so far?
No, I was just surprised that ES335 that you had didn't come with a broken neck.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Paul is fully aware. I guess I've made him fully aware of what the strategies are for a player grade vintage guitar because he's seen them here, and he'll be like, "Why is this one messed up?" And well, it's because of a great deal, right? And the broken neck. Yep, that's the other strategy. So I'll make sure to bring a broken neck guitar in at some point here in the future. Okay, Matthew, we're going to go to the guitar argument.
All right.
And get us, let's remind the viewers here what the guitar argument is in terms of subject matter.
The subject today for the guitar argument is, and I'll do this in the voice of Keith Jackson from college football.
Why Keith
Whoa,
Jackson?
Nelly. You're playing that guitar too hard, boy. Ease off on that neck. You're going to wreck that thing.
And that improv class is paying off.
See?
Yeah.
All those years ago?
Yeah. Okay. Keith Jackson. I don't know how that played. I guess it's okay. All right. So the question is, are you playing the guitar too hard? Should we define too hard before we get into this? Again, we've thought about it, and we think this may potentially be like the universally number one thing that guitar players are doing, and they may not even be aware of it, that is ruining their tone and kind of getting them. I mean, I think it's worse than that. I think it can kind of be a roadblock to progressing. And now, but maybe this is for the cool down part of it.
Yeah, you're stealing them.
But okay, all right. So Matthew, you're going to argue that play as hard as you like. The guitar is a powerful instrument, and it requires a powerful player to communicate properly with it. Is that it?
Maybe.
Okay.
Just start that clock and let's go.
And I'm going to be. It's about nuance, and with an kung fu grip. Was the G.I. Joe had the kung fu grip?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Was it Steve Austin, the $6 million man? I think.
Did he have the?
One of them had a kung fu grip, but anyway,
It wasn't Grasshopper.
Well, I think they were trying to cross pollinate the kung fu show with their kids' toys. But anyway, you don't want to be just clutching. That's my feeling. So we're going to 5 minutes here, Matthew.
Okay, I want to go first.
Okay, go.
Okay. So the pros of playing hard and aggressively is that it imparts the emotional nature of rock and roll or blues into the notes that
The
people are
angry
hearing.
young man comes right out of the hands into the guitar.
That's right. I mean, think
with an iron grip.
think of Pete Townsend doing his windmill. If he was doing that like in a nice little swoosh, very gently, it wouldn't have had the impact.
Okay, go on.
I mean, I remember as a kid that there was a famous picture of Pete's hand all sort of torn up. Maybe that was a little too far, but he meant it. When you saw that picture, his hand was bleeding from hitting the strings too hard. But, think about players like Pete Townsend and Stevie Ray Vaughan. But Stevie Ray Vaughan might have been supplementing.
You think he maybe had was feeling no pain for a reason with his extremely heavy
Well, by his own
strings?
account, he said that when he cleaned himself up, he did not use the super heavy strings anymore. But what we think of Stevie Ray Vaughan, we think of the first record, and we think of the David Bowie record, the Let's Dance record, that sort of new old style.
Okay, we get it. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Pete Townsend. Give me some more.
Malcolm Young. I mean,
Malcolm Young.
Look at Malcolm going crazy up there.
I don't know if I see it. Go on. I think that these people secretly are way more nuanced, and that you're seeing a show. They're incorporating sort of this. I'm wrestling with a guitar is part of the show. Go on, though. Go on. Well, you got more.
Well, just the idea of to get those kind of tones, to get that expression out of the guitar, you do have to have some power, and you have to be able to use it. I mean, David Gilmour.
David Gilmour?
You don't think so?
I would say I would keep going.
The Comfortably Numb. So
I think
solo?
it's nuanced. I think it sounds powerful, but I think this is nuanced playing. But I will get you're running into my argument. You keep going.
Okay. Well,
I'm thinking of two guitar players where I think that well, you've already mentioned one, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and then there's another one that I associate with a very heavy-handed tone. But I think there's that would be Tony Iommi, and I think that that's almost a necessity considering what the injury he had to his fretting hand. Right. But they've incorporated it into their sound. But I think it's actually takes greater skill to do that successfully than it does to play nuanced. So are you done? Or is there more?
No. Well,
is there more to your side of this argument?
I'm over it. I don't want to take all your time.
Well, where were you at here? You've taken quite a bit of time. Okay, so my feeling is that even players that sound like they're playing aggressively, they're playing way more nuanced than in terms of the amount of tension that they're using with their fretting hand and the amount of attack they're using with their picking hand.
Mm-hmm.
I think that comes off as sounding very aggressive, hard playing, but I think to really pull off very aggressive, hard playing like that, it's actually much harder than playing nuanced. And I think there's this window too where, actually, I'm explaining away how to play hard successfully. But I think most players, especially if you're a beginner or intermediate, very often the problem is, I think this string's going to buzz if I don't use a lot of pressure on it. Mm-hmm. And the effect of this is it chokes the tone, and it affects the sustain of the note. It affects the attack. It makes everything sound a bit homogenized as far as playing note to note, and you don't get the sort of full range of the guitar because you're literally wrestling with it. And that ruins people's tone, and I think they don't realize it. I think I did the cool down for myself immediately. But okay, so now, Matthew, what is your real feeling about this? We're in the cool down phase of this.
I think my real feeling is that it's somewhere in between. That I think when you raise a good point, when you're first starting out, everything seems so hard, and then when you think, okay, I've built up enough strength in my fingers and I've got some calluses, I'm going to press on that string as hard as I can, and then you're probably picking too hard with your hand, but then you do have to learn to ease up. And let the note sort of bloom and let going between notes, and you do have to. It's a balance. I think probably one of the people that you think of that plays probably wasn't very aggressive was probably Eddie Van Halen, because you see, it sounded like this incredible kind of sound, but he was very fast and very light with the pick, and
I think he used a thinner pick, in fact.
I think he did. And his whole technique was that very sort of.
Yeah. So when I learned to play guitar in the 80s, and so I listened to a lot of Stevie Ray Vaughan. Loved that, and I'm sure I was picking way too hard, and fretting notes way too hard for several years, before I figured out that it's actually easier to play and play well and nuanced without trying to, make every note as loud as possible. Mm-hmm. And that you can let, I think my impression of it was too, that to make a note bloom sort of, you had to pick it hard. I think the opposite's actually true. I think it does sound choked if you pick the note too hard, because it's going to start hitting the frets where you don't want it to hit, and that reduces the sustain of the note and any sort of bloom that might come afterwards. So I'm sure it kind of held me back for a period of time as far as being able to play a variety of styles by not realizing that it's easier to play with a kind of a lighter touch, and it's also it's less painful, mm-hmm. and it's not really any louder or sort of more expressive to pick a note hard and in your effort to make it sound loud and powerful.
I think what happens too is that your hand starts to cramp up a little bit, and then you're gripping it so hard you're being a little clumsy when then you have to move to the next chord or the next note or something. So
yeah, I think if someone had explained that to me earlier, too, that really it's going to be easier to play if you focus on where your finger is in relation to the fret and not how hard you're pushing. And that picking the note is not, you don't get more volume necessarily out of picking the note harder. You get it, you can get more volume out of picking the note harder, but you don't have to pick it as hard as you possibly can. Right. And at some point I realized that I was playing lighter with lighter touch, and I think if I were more conscious of that earlier, I would have just found it easier to play, and I probably would have sounded better. So, okay, is there more to add to that?
no, I think we covered it.
Okay,
there.
so what do you think the answer is? Is it ruining people's tone?
I think it will improve your tone if you lighten up.
If you lighten up. And what do you think? You think I'm right about too? Like you mentioned Pete Townsend. I think he's probably playing. I think you're seeing a show. I think that with windmill stuff.
That definitely. Sure.
And it's a show in that this is someone who obviously can play very nuanced. I do think though the two that came to mind were Tony Iommi and Stevie Ray Vaughan. Do you? And I kind of thought with Tony Iommi, the fact that he has injuries to his fingertips there, he probably, it may actually allow him to be more sort of firm with the attack of his left hand on the fretting a note.
I admired Tony Iommi. I've never really studied a lot of his playing, but when I've seen him play, it appears that he's playing rather lightly.
Yeah, you think? Yeah,
that's my feeling. But I don't know.
It's a very heavy tone. Maybe you may be right. Yeah, and with Stevie Ray Vaughan, it sounds with the gauge of strings, it sounds very, very aggressive, and he does play very aggressively. But whenever I think that he did that very well. Mm-hmm. But if you're trying to duplicate that, you've got a very high bar. Not only just what he's playing, but that getting that technique down is not easy.
It comes to mind when you even said that. There's a famous. I've just seen it a couple of times, but there's a YouTube sound check video where Stevie Ray Vaughan plugs in, and he's kind of like waking up, and he's kind of half asleep, I think. And then he just goes into his thing, just like it goes from 0 to like bang, full bore doing his and he's kind of, you can see how it is so ingrained into him. He can do it, the drop of a hat, where like you say, to do that, you have to spend a lot of time.
Okay. Well, Matthew, I think have we exhausted the guitar argument at this point?
Yes.
Let's do Rorschach riffs. Paul. Here I'm going to unmute Paul. Paul.
Yes.
Would you like to? Well, maybe you could play Rorschach riffs with us. I don't know if these are going to be of the era of which you would recognize these, but maybe. Do you have anything to write on there? Do you know?
I do.
You do. Okay, so you know what Rorschach riffs are. You've watched every episode of the show, right, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I know what Rorschach riffs are.
Okay. But Paul, we'll include Paul in on the Rorschach riffage, and let me get your guitar here, Matthew, or a guitar. It's my guitar, really.
It's your guitar. It's not mine.
But
you're giving it to me, maybe.
No. I'll be good.
And now.
Okay. All right. Let's.
Do the viewers know what I've used this one in the last episode, maybe the last two episodes. I can't remember, but.
Yeah. Let's see.
Maybe you can tell people what's in this.
Let's see. Let's make sure we got some. There you are. Okay. Tell me if you need any more. Any more? Is that too much dirt, Matthew, or do you want more? Less? Do whatever you want.
Just maybe a touch more, maybe.
A touch more. Okay. Okay. Well, the pickup you wanted. These are the prototype pickups that for an upcoming model.
These are the prototypes, right?
Of throwback pickups that will be released soon. I will not tell you what they are until I have it on the website. But this is a 50. Well, I'll just tease it a little bit. These are a 57 era. We get a lot of requests for 57 era PAF style pickups, and this is a set that we are going to offer based upon history of repairs that we have, and also too. This is kind of what makes part of what makes Throwback unique. Oh, this is a 2004 R7, a historic reissue. But the part of what makes us kind of contrasts what we do with a major guitar manufacturer would be for example, I don't believe Gibson ever had a history of repairing pickups, but if you had a pickup that needed that was problematic, they would send you a replacement of whatever the equivalent was at that time of of that era. But we repair vintage pickups, vintage PAF. So we have at this point, we have a very good resource at hand based upon the repairs that we've done. And that can inform that does inform what we make. And this is one set that's an example of that. Okay. But more on that to come. Okay. Matthew, your Rorschach riffing, were you going to say something?
I was going to ask. So, would Gibson send you a pickup? Would you have to send the old one in, and then they would send you a replacement, or how did it work? Would they send it to the dealer?
They would send it to the dealer, or people, and you'll see these guitars on Reverb and eBay periodically. People would give their guitar to the dealer. The dealer would give it to Gibson, and while it was at Gibson would not only fix the pickups, they'd do you a favor. They would not fix the pickups, they'd replace the pickup, but they would replace the pickup and all the hardware. So there's examples of these guitars that, say it's and sometimes they would refinish them. You could pay basically to have your guitar rejuvenated. But in retrospect, what they were really doing is devaluing your vintage guitar. So you'll see these periodically. They'll be like, this is a 57 vintage 57 Les Paul, but it has T-tops and all chrome hardware because it was sent in
like 10 years later.
Yeah, 10, 20 years later, and sometimes it'll be refinished. It'll say Gibson factory refinish, and that's the story. There's been enough of these that I've seen. There's actually a guy. I don't know if you remember this. There was a guy that I think this was in the newspaper when we still had newspapers, but it was a guy that had a business in Kalamazoo who had worked at the Gibson Custom Shop, kind of their version of it in Kalamazoo, and he had his guitar, and he had done it himself. It was a 50 ZS335. And I believe it had a silver burst finish on it. So he had refinished it over the years and replaced the hardware, but he thought it would be cool to have a silver burst finish years later. So he did it. But they did not. I don't think there's any history of them ever having repaired them as a service. I can relate to with one of my guitars. It may have even been this guitar. I got it when I got it new. One of the burst buckers was not working. I got it from Wildwood, and it arrived, and I think shortly after it just stopped working. And I called Gibson, and they were very good about sending me a replacement, but they didn't want the old pickup back. I don't think there's ever been any I mean, you think about it too. They're making pickups. It's cheaper, less time for them to just make a pickup and send it out than take yours apart,
Fix it.
put it back together, and I think that's just always been the approach that they've had, because it's a practical matter for them.
And wasn't there stories that there were big bins of?
Yeah, the story I
PAFs?
heard was so the story that I heard actually was that when Gibson left Kalamazoo, they put the guys who ran Heritage, who created Heritage, in charge of the auction, and that part of their what they did was they kept machinery and also parts that they thought they might have use for. And one of the I heard this secondhand, but Pete Moreno. So I haven't heard it from him directly, but Pete Moreno is a guy who used to work in kind of this custom shop part of Gibson in Kalamazoo, and still I think repairs guitars. I've had him repair guitars for me. Very nice guy, but he has supposedly he knew like the Gibson kept these old parts in basically barrels, drums, that they didn't throw them away, but he made sure to buy those at the auction, and it was full of things like old PAF pickups, and old hardware. And I've gotten oddball stuff from him that he knew to keep and to buy at that auction. So like pick guard for a J45 or J50, kind of those molded pick guards. I've gotten one from him over the years. In fact, I mean, when I was in high school, the minute I could drive, he was one of the guys I went to his shop. This is in the 80s. And so at the first time I went there, he had a rack of Trini Lopez bodies with no necks on them, and then he had the necks elsewhere, and he would make you a Trini Lopez. So these are items that Gibson did not take with them.
Did you cost that out?
Did I what?
Did you price it out? What it would cost for it?
Oh, I didn't really want a Trini Lopez, but I mean, they left a lot of stuff behind. Gibson did. Okay, I'm sorry, I am distracting you from the Rorschach riffs, but
Did you give me a little more dirt?
Oh yeah, that's right. Why don't you play a little bit there, Matthew? We'll. Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
Okay, here's.
Oh, by the way, these are not real high output pickups. That's why I'm
Okay.
having to give you a little more dirt, because of the ER custom sort of media output. That's what I had this just for, turned it down quite a bit. These are going to be in the neighborhood of 7.5K.
7.5.
So, but anyway, okay.
Okay, here's number one. I'm going to do.
Oh, but make sure people can see your fingers. Paul, are you listening? Do you have notes?
I am listening.
You can. I want you to. And I got to write a note down here too. Here.
So the
Okay, Paul's going to play in the Rorschach riffs. Let's show Paul again there. Let's see. You're going to tape a bobbin while you play Rorschach riffs.
You can do this.
Okay, if you
I
can,
can
no,
do
go
this.
ahead. Go ahead if you feel you can multitask.
Okay, so 4 riffs.
Four riffs, rapid succession.
I won't do them rapid succession, but
Oh,
well, I'll try as best I
okay.
can.
All right.
They're different tempos, so you got to kind of get the tempo. in your
Okay,
head.
Paul, do not say what these are. Paul, do not spoil it for the viewing. Paul, you're not paying attention. Paul,
I'm paying attention. I can hear you.
Okay. Do not spoil this for the viewers or the listeners. We're going to give them ample time to figure out the Rorschach riffs. Okay.
All right, ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
I have no. need to practice more, Matthew. I'm getting these, but wow, you're
I'm doing them nice
they're
and
not
slow.
very polished.
I can do them faster, but I just did them slow.
Okay. The first one I have no clue.
Oh, you want me to do it again?
Paul, do you?
Yeah, there's
do you,
more than one song.
They all seem the same, don't
do
they?
you have it? Do you have any? Do you recognize any of these? Don't say what they are, but Paul, do you recognize any of them?
I do not.
You're not a guitar player though, so that you're forgiven on that. But okay, but he's going to go through them again.
I'll do them again.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Okay, you're trying. Okay, hold on. Hold. Okay. We got that. Okay. The first one I need help with.
Okay.
So can you expand?
Okay,
upon
I got
that?
the wrong. I'm not playing the right guitar.
Oh.
Think late '80s, big comeback for a big band that people were like losing their minds over.
U.S. band or
No, UK.
late 80s?
Late '80s. Minus one original member.
Have I seen these people in concert?
Maybe. Big resurgence. Big sort of like, coming back.
Is this a band that had their last tour multiple times?
No.
Okay, play a little bit more. The first one.
And then it kind of repeats, but it's the same thing until it
It
gets
repeats,
going. Now you need.
Okay, can you go on to the part where it gets going?
Not really. No.
No, shoot.
Because the whole band comes in and what have you.
I'm stumped.
Think of.
Well, let's see, Paul. Paul, do you recognize any of these?
Vaguely.
You recognize
Are
this
you
one.
writing any of this?
You
I'd
recognize
have to
that one.
guess something first to write it down.
Okay. Well, we'll find out from Paul first. Okay, the first one I am totally stumped on. Paul, we're gonna go to you, and we're gonna see if you've got any ideas. Well, okay, Matthew, I'm sorry. I think I may have done the riffs without you. Do it one more time here, and for the viewers.
Think of a whammy bar there.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, Paul, you're going to are any of these ring a bell?
No.
Not a one? Okay. All right. He seems pretty
Is
definitive
it
about
Skinny
that.
Puppy?
It's not Skinny Puppy. Is the first one Skinny Puppy? I don't know. And I don't think so.
We'll have to do a Skinny Puppy one.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, first one I have no clue. Second one is Rock Candy.
That was specifically done for your
Montrose.
benefit. Because I didn't grow up with Montrose.
Okay. Third one is Running Down a Dream by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yes.
Fourth one is Radar Love by Golden Earring.
And I did that one because there was some member of the band I saw who passed recently.
Oh, really?
You'd hate when I bring you down, but he.
Okay.
But the last one, the first one rather.
First one. Okay, you said it's not the right guitar. Tell me, maybe if you tell me the guitar, I'll figure it out.
Okay, so it would be a Strat, and at this period, probably a red Strat, maple neck, and probably EMG pickups.
Red Strat, maple neck. Oh, so it's David Gilmour.
Yeah.
Okay, play it again. This is a Pink Floyd song?
Yeah, from the '87 record.
I just don't know the song.
It's the last song. I believe it's the last song on
That
the
sounds
record.
familiar.
Hey,
And Running Down the Dream, that did too, but I just one tiny part of it. The rest of it,
listen, if you're not going to take the Rorschach riff seriously, we better mute you. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I don't know it. It's a Pink Floyd song.
It's for Momentary Lapse of Reason. I think it's the last song on the record.
What is the song?
Sorrow.
I have no clue.
Yeah. It was one of those huge kind of guitar
Yeah, but what was it?
riffs.
Did you ever hear this on the radio?
Probably not. Probably not on the radio. On the record, I didn't hear it on the radio.
All right.
Because you would have heard that "Learning to Fly" song on the radio.
Okay. All right. I okay.
So you have now the challenge is been thrown down. You have to pick up the mantle for the next show, and
I've already got a Rorschach riff
You've been practicing
planned out, and you haven't ruined it with this
Good.
one. So we'll
look forward to
put this
that.
away. So my riff selection is safe
Good.
because you haven't
haven't
hijacked
ruined
any of them this episode. You've done it with Day Tripper
I'm sorry about that.
and what was the other one? And The Ocean.
The Ocean. We've done 4 already, and now
Yeah.
we're steady again.
Okay.
Did you always like that? Listening to that at the beginning,
Yeah.
like when John Bonham
Yeah,
says that
yeah.
little rhyme.
Okay. All right. So we've got your musical musings, Matthew.
Okay, I just wanted to tell folks that.
The first, what are we going to talk about? Is this more guitar?
Well, I was going to talk more guitar, but we're in the process of receiving architectural proposals, so there's nothing really to report. So we're just going to hold off on.
It was going so well. Now the whole project's in a.
No, because we have to. We can't.
This whole project's on hold now
It's not on
because
hold.
of architectural drawings.
No. The drawing. No, we're taking submissions from various architects.
Yeah, you're having to deal with these artistic types that
It's
don't
difficult.
want to actually do what's important. They want to do their vision.
Their vision. I have to deal with the egos all day long now.
I can imagine.
So
I can imagine.
We're going to work. We have to narrow it down, and then we can show people some drawings.
I was looking forward to the guitar. Tell people what the guitar is,
Well,
so
the-
that they'll know next week.
The
what takes
guitar
place.
is like half guitar arc, GUITARK. So guitar, it's a repository for all things vintage guitar. So guitar, vintage guitars, vintage amplifiers.
Okay.
The idea is that we take these in, and that they're donated to us, and then we care for them.
And it's not just a ploy for you to get free guitars. It's
No.
more than that.
No, we will also have a layer in which to.
It's a place to have fun with free guitars, right?
Well, we'd have to check the guitars to make sure that they're acclimatizing and that nothing's happening with
It's
them.
a whole management setup.
It's massive.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
But so in lieu of that, and then the reason why I wanted to do the David Gilmour, my attempt at doing the David Gilmour Sorrow little lick, was I went last night to go see an IMAX film. So you can put that the IMAX thing.
All right. We'll see that.
It's David Gilmour live at this Circus Maximus in Rome, shot for IMAX, and it premiered last night, and I think locally here it'll be on screen again on Sunday, and it's playing at the IMAX theater in town and a couple other regular screens. But I would recommend, if you have the chance, to see it in IMAX. It's very well done. And my thought about it was, well, I'll go and I looked at the set list. You can find the set list on Spotify for the record that's going to come out in a month. I said, I'll stay for the first half hour.
Was it, when was it shot?
It was shot last fall. So
okay.
he toured last fall. It was on the Luck and Strange tour, and he shot in Rome, I guess, over 3 nights or something at this venue, which was this huge venue that was at one time
the Circus Maximus.
And then, but they just used a tiny little piece of it. So maybe in the crowd there was, they said 15 to 18,000 people or so. But it was very well done. And then the music is a combination of music from Pink Floyd stuff, like Dark Side of the Moon, a couple songs. And then he does Division Bell stuff from Pink Floyd from 94, a few songs from Momentary Lapse of Reason, and quite a few songs from the Luck and Strange record. But the nice thing about it was that he played umpteen different guitars.
Well, didn't he have this big guitar auction?
He had it, yeah. So this is the first big show, I think, since that guitar auction.
Are there good guitar, like sort of iconic guitars associated with him that he's playing?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So
he didn't have a complete fire sale.
No, but so the ones that I thought were interesting, he plays and you get to see the back of the headstock. So his black Strat was sold, and I believe Jim Irsay purchased it from the Colts owner. He's now playing a Fender Custom Shop. I'll call it the Black Cat Strat because he has this little sticker of a cat on it, and then they use that cat in the film as a little. They animate it at little times, and it walks around at the beginning of the film and things. But so his Strat looks and sounds great. Then he uses he has a Tobacco Sunburst Telecaster. And I don't know if that at one time had a rosewood neck on it. It doesn't have a lot of finish left on the body, but he pulls that out and then plays great on it. And then he had a black Gretsch that I believe he purchased in the mid-'70s that he plays for a song, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. He's not associated with that. And then for the song Dark and Velvet Nights, he pulls out a ES 335.
It's not a guitar you generally associate with him.
No. But there's YouTube videos of him going over that guitar saying, I purchased this relatively recently, but I didn't realize how nice these guitars are. It wasn't really.
Is it a newer ES335?
No, it's vintage.
No, it's a vintage one.
It's vintage. I can't tell you what year it is, but.
Okay.
And then he plays a P90, his Gold Top, Les Paul Gold Top with the Bigsby Bridge and the P90s. And then he also pulls out, he has various acoustics and things for he does Wish You Were Here and things. But he does pull out a Candy Apple Strat with EMG pickups.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if it is
the one.
The one. I don't know if that was sold at the auction or not. It looked pretty clean.
Do people just feel like, ooh, EMGs?
Well, it has a certain, he didn't.
For a time, that was sort of the attitude. I kind of had that about the lace sensor pickups.
You like those?
And I got that Eric Clapton Strat, the old one that has lace sensor pickups. I really like it. Yeah.
But the show, like I initially was thinking, I'll stay for the, because it's a little over 2 hours long, but it's very well shot. It has a very good flow to the whole show. The band is very good. The drummer's excellent. Greg Philiganis plays keyboards, one of the keyboard players. Famous sort of American session player, and it toured with everybody, Eric Clapton and John Mayer and whatnot. But it was very good. I stayed to the end, so it's a good show.
All right, so it's highly recommended by Matthew.
It's just playing. If it's in your neighborhood, it's playing like on Sunday, and then it's gone, I guess, and then it's going to be released in a month.
Okay,
on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever.
Are we ready for the outro here, Matthew? You think?
I think. Well, we should check in with Paul and see if he has anything.
Okay. Well, hold on.
Let
me bring the music up here, Paul. Paul, we're gonna get final thoughts from you. Anything to add?
It was a great show.
Okay. Well, you did have to listen to the whole thing, whether or not you wanted to.
That's the first review of the show, so I'll take that as positive.
He not only did he have to work, he had to hear us.
He gets paid double, I think, for that, doesn't he?
I think maybe you ought to consider playing the bass instead of Matthew, and Matthew can play guitar in your band.
Oh. I got that check ready for you, Paul.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, Paul, we'll keep the camera on you for the outro. So say something nice to the viewers.
Hello, everyone, and
thanks for watching the Gutro Lounge podcast. All right.
Keep buying those pickups.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.